Hi, everyone. It's Ryan from the Ryan's Well Foundation, and I'm joined here today by our project coordinator, Yessey. Thank you so much for jumping on with our podcast, Yessey.
Thanks, Ryan. It's a pleasure having you here on this platform, and yes, yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be quite insightful and sharing lots of stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty happy for having me on this platform. Thanks.
And we're just happy to have you as part of the team. I guess we joined the Ryan's Well team in November, it would have been. I'm trying to remember
Mhm.
when your first day was. And
Yeah,
ever since then, it seems
I,
like it's
I,
just flown by.
I never forget my first day. It was on 20th of November.
20th November, there we go. Then we have the exact date as well.
Yeah, a few months count down the road. Yes.
Yeah, because we were looking for a project coordinator. And I remember we were doing the interview process and looking and emailing and finding out. And as soon as we heard from you, we felt like we had someone who just fit everything that we stood for and everything, like your background, your qualifications, and your background. You're in Nipissing at North Bay right now, finishing your master's, but your background is from Uganda.
Oh yes, I come from Uganda, one of the greatest countries, I must say, to go and see and view, as you can witness, of course. Uh, Growing up from there in a little village called Mugarusia Kanyara in western Uganda, Mbarara district, actually. Say hi to guys from that side of the country.
Little shout
Yeah,
out.
growing up from there, and yes, going through primary school in those in the little village and in the remote area. I'm actually homegrown, like village person. I grew up from a remote area, then going through high school and then got to Makerere University, which is in the city Kampala. Yeah, having lots of things and going here and there, going to training in Israel, and then I had a training I went to University of Minnesota in the US. I came back and stuff like that, family and all sorts of things. Life is life is really turbulent and very busy. And yes, well, I found myself in North Bay. How? I don't know.
I think everyone in North Bay asks themselves the same question at some point. How did I get here? And there are good things about North Bay. I'm not gonna try to make fun of North Bay, but
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was always surprising looking at all your qualifications and then you were in North Bay. It was cool to see.
And everybody asks me, what did you like about North Bay? Of all cities, how come you came to North Bay? I was be like, wow, what a question. Just a little city, yeah, in the north, and yeah, it's pretty interesting here. It's a smaller city and not so much diverse, but you can always know almost every person. Like
Hmm.
if I walk on streets, they'd be like, "Oh, that black guy." We always see that black guy because there are not many of us here. Yeah, but
I
it's
feel
a
like it's
very nice
changing though.
city.
Like even the rural areas of Canada are getting a little bit more diverse and things like that. So
Yeah,
a
yeah.
little bit, but I hear what you're saying for sure.
Very interesting, very interesting. Yeah, interesting
Hmm.
stuff. Then going through school and busy stuff and family, school and balance. And boom, I ran into Ryan Wells Foundation. I was like, wow. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we're a small team and we do water work all over the world. But the very first well was in Uganda, and it has a special place in my heart. I've spent a lot of time there. Made my adopted brothers from Uganda, lifelong friends from there, and we'll be heading back for our monitoring trip in a couple weeks. And so
Mm.
excited to be back there, helping more people get access to clean water.
Yeah, it was. I don't know if it was a coincidence, but coming from Uganda and working for Ryan Zoe Foundation with projects in Uganda, wow, what a honor, what a privilege. Yeah,
No,
because
100%. Yeah.
yeah, having that kind of background in my training, my first degree was in Bachelor of Science in Agriculture. Then I had a diploma in irrigation technology from Israel. Going to University of Minnesota, then coming for masters in environmental science at the Nipissing University. It's like a whole sort of thing that would top up. It's like a cherry on the icing on the cake for having a project in Uganda, then having me with all that kind of background, it's a big advantage on our side. Joining you, I was so happy to be part of you, and I sleep well when I do something that that concerns our projects in Africa and world over. I feel so happy to do everything that I do, and I do it to my best of my knowledge. I'm pretty happy for you guys having me. Yeah, it's a big thing. Yeah.
No, what you're saying makes a lot of sense too. I remember when I was growing up and I always volunteered kind of thing for Ryan's Well and tried to do my best kind of thing. And then I was at university and I never envisioned myself working as my job for, Ryan's Well, helping do the nuts and bolts of putting everything together with the projects and everything else. And then, I would have started with Ryan's Well as a job about, I don't know, be almost 9 years ago now, doing the projects and now as executive director. And it's such a treat to do what you love as your job. And I never really thought of it that way when I was growing up. But, it ends up working out well and fitting. And, I never saw myself being able to still be a part of this so many years later. Like, we're getting up there. Like, I'm 30. I said I was 32 the other day, and then I had to do the math to see if I was actually 32. So
Yeah.
I put an asterisk next to that. I'm not actually sure of my age right now, but it's nice to be a part of things so many years later. And you're right, it helped. So a part of you sleeps better at night, but then also a part of you is just up all night because you're also thinking about all the different things to
Oh
do and
yes,
things like
the
that.
time difference.
But
Yeah.
because you care.
Yes, the time difference is huge. Like, oh my God. Yeah.
Well, that
And
too.
time flies so fast. I was looking at through our organization archives, looking at little Ryan in 2000s, and now looking at a tall Ryan. I was like, wow, time flies so fast. And I was so happy and running through what we've recorded before and knowing better the organization and stuff like that. Wow, I had a lot of lessons learning from you as person. I just now learned that you don't need a position to be a leader. You need to take an initiative to be a leader. You don't need to be elected to be a leader. Oh my God. I was like a little 6-year-old person having such a passion and carrying their passion and nurturing their passion and impacting millions of people in such a way the Ryan Rowan Foundation has done. It's incredible job. It's an incredible work the organization has done, nurturing a dream. And I don't know. I just want to know how did you grow up back home? How did your parents nurture you to have you dreams come to realization? I just have that kind of.
It's
I
hard
want to
to
know
say.
better.
Yeah, because yeah, obviously it wasn't me. Like we've known each other for a few months now, so you've gotten to know me to know that I'm not some superhuman leader type person, and you obviously know that the Ryan's Law Foundation is a lot bigger
Yeah.
than me. It's our awesome staff, volunteers. My parents played a huge role in bringing up the foundation, with my mom being the volunteer executive director for so many years, and then my dad taking on the role and adding so much value to it, and so many donors and volunteers around there. It's so many people. But when I think, like when you're talking right now about the nurturing aspect of it, I remember the very first trip we took to Uganda. I would have liked to see the very first well that was drilled. I would have been 9 years old, and we went to the school, and it was a little bit beyond, like, I usually talk about it and I say like, oh, it was a celebration, there were over 5,000 people there and it was a big feast and everyone was so happy because they had clean water. I think the deeper thing about that is they saw the message of a kid who had fundraised the money for the well, and they've been asking for a water source for years, and they thought maybe a government or a bigger aid organization would help, help implement it. But then they heard it was a 6-year old. They were very very interested because in any of our cultures, like
Yeah.
especially in Uganda, like when you're a student, like you're a student, like you sit down in
Yes.
your class, you listen to your teacher. Well, they kind of took that as a message for their whole school, for their students, that they didn't have to wait to become members of the community, that they could start now.
Mhm.
And I just met so many kids when I was there that just were just inspired me. So I think it goes back to that very first school, that those were the leaders who then had an opportunity to go to school and had
Yes.
to build their lives and stuff like that,
Hmm.
and all because of
Hmm.
water. So I think that's the secret sauce is right there. That
Oh,
very first trip, I think that had a huge impact on both me, my parents, everyone going forward, and helped us foster what became the Ryan's Well Foundation. And that those seeds must have been planted in a good spot because we're still here. I lose track of the years sometimes, but we're coming up on 25 years of Ryan's Well, and it's
cool,
kind of cool to see.
cool. Cool, cool stuff. It's just such a fascinating story. It's a very grounded story, and it's a story that sometimes gets me emotional, really, because not very many can have such a dream, and then they nurture their dream. Now you see your dream come true, and you see, I don't know, the passion that can always ignite such a dream and nurture the dream. Really, it takes a lot of effort to keep going and keep pushing, and that's a lot of sense of humor.
And I think the one other thing is that you can have the passion, you can have the all the energy in the world. I think I got pretty intimidated a lot of the times just on the scope of the world's water crisis, on the amount of people that don't have it, implementing sustainable solutions, and your role as project coordinator, and looking at all the different specifics of water. Is it's not just a easy problem to solve. Everything's done. Everything's
Mhm,
well.
mhm,
Just do a whole bunch of wells. Like it's complicated and tough. And I think I got really intimidated by it when I was like a teenager growing up. Just
mhm,
when you looked at the specifics of, especially the sustainability and how do you make a well and a water project last a lifetime for someone. And I think just like our team, especially all the volunteers that we had in our original board of directors, leading into all the people we've had in the project role, whether that be Julie, who was originally in the role,
mhm,
myself and my dad, whether that be Keely and now yourself, have all added a lot of value to making sure that the work that we do goes beyond that water point, that it lasts a lifetime. And it's something that's always tough and challenging. But I think if we're not focused on that, then I think there's no point in doing what we do. So,
absolutely,
there's, yeah, I'm just
absolutely.
so glad to be taking that to the next level with yourself, because it seems like you have the next set of criteria to add to it, because we've all kind of added a little bit of something, each
Yeah,
person to
yeah.
the role. And I think we're in a perfect spot right now for you to add a lot of value. Mhm.
Absolutely. Everybody has a like a little block to add on the building. We are building, and everybody adds something. By the end of the construction, then it will be a very nice building. But everybody has a role to play. A little in your little ways. Actually,
Oh
they
yeah.
say you can make a small contribution, but those contributions make extraordinary difference in people's lives at the end of the day. Yeah, I
I may have
was
to steal that one. That's good.
yeah. Yeah. And yeah, of course we make different contributions in different
Mhm.
ways. You can help in any way possible. You don't need to have $1 million. No, you can help in smallest ways possible, but in the smallest ways possible, people's lives are touched and impacted positively at the end of the
Mm.
day, and that's why we are here. That's why we do what we do. And last week I was looking at the statistics. Oh my God, staggering statistics of water and sanitation hygiene. It's crazy.
Yeah. Mhm.
And the other day I came to Ottawa. I talked to Kelly, who travels to Brazil almost every year. So I told him, how do you appreciate that there is a big difference between, let's say, being in Canada and being in another country? And we are sharing a lot for the most of the time. And he told me how interesting it is. When you, let's say, in Canada, you may think that water is a normal. Is have water every day is a guarantee, which is not the case for the rest of the countries outside there. And when I was looking at statistics, I can imagine 200 million hours spent every day by children and women fetch clean water, fetch water, not just clean, but fetch water, not necessarily clean water. And that was translating into 22,800 years daily. What a wasted opportunity. What a wasted energy and potential they put in that every year. And I was also looking at 2.2 billion people lacking safe, clean water as of 2022. Uh, it's like staggering. And actually, who make this statistic, majority of the people who make these statistics are underprivileged people, the people we
Mm.
serve at Ryan Wells Foundation. And it is very, very, very interesting. Uh, Only that you may think it is hypothetical, but it's real. When you go down there, you've been traveling to Africa, you've been traveling to South America, it's real. And
Mm.
the worst is that climate change is exacerbating the situation. And surprisingly, these people who are highly impacted, they are less responsible for some of these things, and they have no idea. They don't know how things are going to be, and they have no hope. And when you build a well and touch people's lives differently and positively, really it makes a big impact. You have seen our success and impact stories. People
Yeah.
celebrate,
Hmm.
people make parties when they have safe clean water.
Hmm.
The shoulder, the burden that lies on their shoulder to get water every day is very much. Related to that, I can remember vividly in my primary school, we had
Hmm.
one water well in the whole parish. Can you imagine? A parish of like 10 villages, 8 villages,
Oof.
one water well, which was a borehole. Actually, we would make lines and lines, spend hours before you reach there. Then once you reach there, sometimes the well is dry and you have to wait for the next day.
Just because it's being overused by so many people.
And you have to wait for the next
Yeah.
day.
No, I hear you.
Even you are not guaranteed for the next day. You have to wait until the well can rejuvenate and give more water. Those stories are real. It's not hypothetical. And no doubt the statistics can really speak the
Hmm.
volumes. I'm sure, Brian, you have a better evidence.
I think the one thing that sticks out to me is I remember every time since I was a kid going to Uganda, you'll see plastered on boda bodas and billboards. You'll see everywhere. It will just say, "Water is life." You see that everywhere. Every time I go to Uganda, to Ghana, like I see it everywhere, and you kind of think like, "Oh, that's cute." But then when you don't have water from the well, when you don't, when you have to spend that many hours a day, it adds up and it gets to a crazy point. And I think, the most heartwarming thing, like when, I've been on our recent project visits that I didn't really see as much when I was younger that I see now is, we'll talk to some of the older people and the seniors who, are still getting water for their families, helping their kids and everything. And they say, this is so wonderful. It's less taxing on my life. And most importantly, my kids don't have to spend hours every day going to get water like I did. They can actually go to school. They can actually, get an education. And I think that's just, how can you ever put a price on something like that? You're allowing people to actually get an education, to actually,
It's
there's
absolutely
no putting it into
priceless.
words. Yeah.
Mhm,
Hmm.
mhm. It's absolutely priceless. It is very priceless. Uh, like life is real in some of the communities, especially the rural communities in let's say sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia and Southern Asia, or South America down here. It's very real that you have to worry about many things, including water, which we think that water is everywhere. I got lots of lessons when I was in Israel. Uh, there is no water in Israel, actually. You can never find fresh water in Israel. They have one fresh water lake, which is the Lake of Galilee. But surprisingly, those guys have water everywhere. They have no water available, but water is accessible everywhere through technology. They have irrigation technology, which is very advanced. Uh, of course, being a desert, definitely you don't expect anything green there, but it's to a surprise. Israel is more green than most of the countries which have more water than it is. But what does that teach us? It teaches that yeah, things can be done, things are possible. And how can they be done? Possible through innovation and some technologies and solutions which can provide sustainable water supply and sustainable water solutions are really possible through some technological innovations. Definitely, it is. Uh, as I could say, I could see from that kind of example, uh, most of the countries in Africa, uh, most parts have water available, but it's not accessible.
It's not accessible, and it has to be, for the people as well. Like when I think about water, like, and I think of all the industry behind it, you have to make sure that it's available for local human consumption, and that it's safe and clean. And if you do those things, then everything else follows. But you can't skip ahead, because even in places where there's no water, all of a sudden there is water, because you can implement solutions. And yeah, it's just, you want to be careful not to uh, focus on the industry side of things. It can be tough. I was doing a presentation yesterday at a school, and the question and answers got really extended and really long. Where I think I made the comment like, "Oh, we can't live without water. You can't live more than a few days without having water." And then I think a kid uh, uh, ask smartly, like, "Oh, what about juice? You just drink juice instead of water?" I'm like, you use water to make the juice.
Yes, it's a
And
nice
then,
one.
it reminds me, there's a really good documentary done that Brian Swell was actually a little part of. It was called Blue Gold, and it was talking about, and they did a great segment where it specified all the things that, not just water you need to survive, but all the things water creates. Like, it costs this much water to make a hamburger, or to make a thing of beer, or to make a cob of corn. And it's connects to everything. And if you do sustainable, important water solutions, the very small sliver of water that we have is more than enough for those things. And we need to be careful, obviously, on not going too hard on the water intensive things, especially in a desert where you don't want to be spending all the slim amount of water on things that shouldn't be there. But it ends up making a big difference.
Yeah, yeah. I was looking through more statistics and reading through some of the updates on how water and sanitation services are. I realized now it's more expensive to dig a well than it was 20, 30 years ago, because you need to dig as twice deeper to find water than it was. And I think it's all about the water table. The water table is now much lower because
Mm,
of climate change and related effects. But when you talk about climate change, the only thing that comes to my mind is now nothing but water, because a climate crisis is a crime is water crisis of absolutely,
mm,
because that's water is like an engine for life. Water is life. Without water, then
mhm,
we are not living anymore. But some of the things that was catching my eye is seeing how to make sustainable water solutions, but also uh, institutional strengthening.
mm,
For instance, collaborations and partnerships internationally and nationally, and everybody getting involved in their smallest ways and possible. You don't need to, like I said before, you don't need to be a millionaire or to make a big difference. Like you can make those little differences and those little contributions, but they make big differences in people's lives, just like you did. But I saw what you said when you were in was it Saudi Arabia? You said if you knew how much it takes to build a well when you were 6 year old, then you won't have started.
Sometimes when we're adults, we think of things differently. And yeah, if I was an adult looking at the world's water crisis, I would be, you know, I don't think I would do anything, because I would be so intimidated and saying,
Yeah.
what can I do? But when I was a kid, that wasn't the case. I don't know what it was, but I thought I could do anything. And because of that, it ended up doing something small, which turned into something bigger. But
Yeah, yeah.
that all leads towards why we do what we do. And we'll be leaving in 2 weeks for our monitoring trip, where we do monitoring, we do evaluation of the year's work. We did a lot of work this year in Ghana, and both in Western Uganda and in the north. and we also do the planning for this coming year's work. Are you excited to be going on
Oh,
your trip this year, Yessey?
absolutely, absolutely. I was calculating, seeing the statistics of how many waterways we have built for last year, 2023. They are over 30,000, and that's staggering.
Or
That's
30,000 people, right?
oh, yeah, over
Beneficiaries. Yeah.
30,000
I
beneficiaries.
don't think we did
Exactly.
30,000 wells. Yeah.
That's staggering, man. It's a big, big job done.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's absolutely a big impact for 30,000 people for that year. And I was like, oh wow, these guys did a great job. And I was like, oh my God, 2024, we can do better. 2024, we can do better.
Always try to do a little better, but I
Yeah.
think, we've been so fortunate and so lucky to cultivate relationships with local partners that have just gotten better every year, and we've been able to help promote and encourage their organizations, and be a part of implementing some really good change. So I'm excited for, when you're talking on the phone and email and WhatsApp is one thing, but when you're there in person, it's an entirely a different other thing. So I guess it may not be as much of a culture shock as you. It's kind of like going home, especially when we're in Western Uganda. But I'm excited for you to see the impact of all our other work for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. The other day I was speaking to Stephen, one of our partners in Western Uganda, and
Stephen.
yeah, he was telling me how they are really having a good like doing great job in water and sanitation hygiene. He
Mhm.
telling me how they are involved with United Nations, UNICEF, and all kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's impressive. They're doing a good job down there. Yeah, it seems they are more collaborative and good at partnerships and stuff like that. It is very fascinating to have talked to him. Yeah.
Stephen, Helen, and now Anthony, who's at the helm, along with the rest of the team at RWIDF, are exceptional to say the least. I remember their organization when they first started doing very small things with a collective of AIDS widows and doing, small business projects. I think it was a piggery that they first started with, and other collectives to try to, get money for people. And then ended up doing water projects, and now they're doing stuff all over the place and having a huge impact all over the Rukungiri and beyond. So big shout out to the team at RWIDF, or
Mm,
RWF,
mm.
for the Ruhinda Women's Integrated Development Fund, I guess I should say. We usually
Yeah,
just say
yeah,
RWIDF, but
absolutely. That's
we'll
right.
say the whole name here. But they are exceptional. I'm happy. I'm
Yeah.
excited for you to meet the team there for sure.
Yeah, and having like, they have a big scoop. Doing three districts, it's pretty big
Mm-hmm.
job. Yeah, yeah, coordination, of course, with Anthony, it's a big job. Not to say that other partners don't have a big scope, but you know how Western Uganda can be.
No, David with the team in Dona has been doing so well,
Yeah.
always exceeding expectations, along with DeLeo, our oldest partner in northern
Hmm.
Uganda, with the Divine Aid team,
Hmm.
and Dixon and everyone else there have been unbelievable as well. So shout out to all our partners. But
Yeah, sure.
I guess we're just
Uh,
talking about Western
extremely.
Uganda. I think about you being from there, and my mind goes, "Oh, let's talk about more Western Uganda things."
Extremely excited about one region, which is Ashanti. I studied
Mm.
Ashanti in history, like
Oh,
African
okay.
history. So I've always known lots of things there. They are culturally strong and they have lots of good stuff and tourism attraction and stuff like that. I'm very excited to go to southern Ghana, and specifically Ashanti region, to
It's
meet.
a very interesting, very warm region. I'm excited for you to go. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
and I'm told they have a nice food of also called fufu. So I'm looking forward to having fufu and fish.
Okay, we'll definitely try to get some local food there for sure. And
Yeah,
we'll try to take lots of photos. We'll share lots of stories from the trip because we'll learn so much, and we'll be bringing it home with us. But we'll also try to send some updates to the rest of the team and everyone following us on Facebook, social media, and everything else. We'll be sure to post a lot of stories when we're on the trip. But
yeah,
we'll be going pretty soon, so stay tuned. They'll be coming pretty soon on all of our platforms.
absolutely. I was asking myself, oh, Ryan has been here for now close to 25 years.
Yeah, I guess I would have started fundraising when I was 6, and I'm
Hmm.
32 now, so 26 years, and the foundation's been
Wow.
around for close to 25. Yeah.
Wow. You know, Ryan, it's one thing having a foundation started, but sustaining it is another thing. And it's
Well, that's
never
the thing that we were talking about, though. Like, I
yeah.
was lucky both of my parents were exceptional in helping me along, as well as taking leadership roles in the foundation to keep it. And we had so many volunteers throughout the years who, when we started, I didn't know anything about, building wells, the sustainability, but only by getting amazing volunteers. I'm thinking of, we had a volunteer, Bruce O'Callahan, who was a Rotarian and had a lot of experience, with infrastructure projects, who helped get everything off the ground, and our local partners who help build those relationships. And it really, created the mandate of trying to get as most work done for, making sure that money goes to where it needs to go and all those things. So I think I may have been the little motor, but with the dream, but it was a huge team that helped make it possible. But I'm excited for us to go. I'm excited to do the work. And then I'm excited for 2024, 2025 to be better than ever.
Speaking of that, where do you see ourselves going in the next 5, 10-ish years? And
I am awful with that question. Yes, I don't see where I'm going tomorrow. I know we're going to on a monitoring trip in a week and a half.
I
I know.
don't
I
know.
always think of, let's try to do as much good work as we can, as much as possible. But I need to change. I need to be better on that. We need to
No,
think more long term.
I'm
So I
just
think of 5 years from now, our partners are all in a better spot,
mhm,
where they're, even better financially, able to reach more people, have better institutions for themselves and their own organizations up, and we're
mhm,
helping promote and encourage that. And I
mhm.
can't wait to see if we can make that happen.
Absolutely. I just think like you. I'm not good at projection, no. I'm good at looking at today and the day after and the day after, do it my best. I live the moment.
We'll do some long-term stuff though, for sure,
I live in
because
the
we're
moment.
looking at, making
Mhm.
sure that our partners aren't just working today, they're working for years to come. So
Oh
that'll
yeah,
be definitely a
sustainability.
theme of the coming years. We'll maybe look at some long-term investments and making sure that that happens.
And I'm very impressed about the model we use as a foundation to ensure sustainability. Uh, Having it owned, like projects are owned by the individual people, like the
Hmm.
communities. It's a very good model. Most of the projects or most of the whatever initiatives fail to see their second, third birthday because lack of sustainability. Once you involve the locals from the word go, that makes it they own
Yeah.
it. It's their
It's
own. I
it's
remember I remember having projects back home in Uganda uh, implemented by the government, but you know
mhm.
what the locals would be like? Oh, that project is for ministry so and so, so it's not our own. They would leave it because they were not involved from the word go, and I was extremely impressed by our model.
Yeah, there's no silver bullet, I like to say. Like, there's different solutions work for different places, but I think our model, when you look at rural situations and you look at people having ownership over the project, it ends up, having that, this is our project. We have to take care of it, and giving the proper tools and training. Like, we do a lot of prep to make sure that people are prepared to take on those leadership roles. And we've had a lot of success with it, and hopefully we can continue to improve it.
Absolutely, it's a good one.
Absolutely.
It's a
So,
good one.
any final thoughts? Yes, thank you so
Oh,
much for joining
oh,
the Ryan's Well podcast. We're so happy to
thanks,
have you on.
thanks, guys,
And
for having me.
well, I guess we're
Mm,
having each other. We're all part of
mhm,
Ryan's Well here.
mhm.
So,
And
but
the other day I was talking to Connie, and wow, she was like, "We are happy to have you," and I was like, "I'm lucky to be with you."
yeah, Connie is our office admin and
Yeah.
is, I like to think, the true heart of Ryan's Well. Shout out to Connie.
She is, she is. I told her she's like she cements us together. She brings us together. She
I
is the
think so too.
heart, like she's our heartbeat. You know what I mean? I was talking to her the other day. She was like, I told her, you know what, Connie? You cement us together. You bring us together, and that's a very big factor in any organization.
Absolutely.
She's our
Tommy is
fallback.
with the
She's,
heart, and then I think Susie is our energy.
of
Susan
course, of course.
Mackey, who's our sanitation coordinator.
She's our
Uh,
kinetic
Definitely
energy.
keeps us energy and
Yeah.
energetic. I don't know what organ it is that provides the energy. Glucose, maybe.
Uh-huh. She
But
gives
Susan,
the,
you're our glucose.
she brings the vibe. They call it a vibe.
The vibe and the energy. But we're so happy to have you in the role of project coordinator, and we're
Thanks.
looking forward to getting our new project work off the ground. So
Thanks, Ryan.
thank you
Thanks.
so much. Can't wait to go.
Yeah, thanks. I wish you all the best and looking forward for the trip. Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.